What's up, everybody? It's your boy back with another reaction video, and I'll be reacting to the Thing Remastered review. I believe this is from MandaloreGaming, if I'm not mistaken. I thought I had reacted to this already. I saw your comment. I was shocked. I saw it, and I thought I reacted to this a month ago. I think I started recording it, but the power went out in my house, and I have a battery backup, but when I built this new PC, I didn't plug it into it for some reason. I don't know why. I didn't plug the power source into it. I plugged it into an outlet, and it cut off. So it's like when I was recording it, just like the TV stayed on. The TV's plugged into it, but the computer cut off, and I was like, oh. Then I was like, oh, I'll do it the next day. But in my head, I had already done it. So when you wrote that comment, I was like, wait. I said, didn't I? I was like, didn't I do this? I was like, nope. Because at first I thought, I keep salivating. Because at first I thought I had done it because this has happened twice. I've done a video, uploaded it on YouTube, saw it finish and upload, and then the next day it was gone. But it was nothing like, oh, it got taken down. Like they tell you that. Like I've had videos get taken down for for excessive violence. I've had video get taken down because of copyright. I had a bunch of videos get taken down because of copyright, or blocked. Which is funny because I've had videos get blocked, and I've had videos get entirely taken down. So I don't know. I guess they got a notice from the content owner. It was like, we want this video gone. Like not blocked, just gone. Like because it was just blocked, I can re-edit it using YouTube, or I can just re-edit the video using my own software. But if it's still there, I can see it, but just no one else can see it. And I had a video. It was restricted because it was restricted in, I think it was Saudi Arabia or no, it was Pakistan. I think it was. I read to a trailer, and it was restricted there because of I think it's like cultural, religious beliefs or something like that. So, and one time I think a video got blocked in a region, in like a certain region. I don't remember why. And I ended up deleting that video anyway because of that whole juke media thing that was going around. I was just like, I don't know, they might purchase one of these clips that because it was like I think it was like a try not to laugh or something. And it was one of the videos where I was drunk, and I was like, try not to laugh, drunk edition or something like that, and see if I could not laugh. And I was reading about people getting caught up with that, them buying clips and then suing people, or not really suing them, but getting them to, you gotta give us money or we're going to sue you type thing. And I was just like, I just deleted all those videos because I don't want to do it. Just like I deleted the videos with King and Asura. I deleted, I think it was all of season 1. I think I had started season 2, and then people that own that, all of a sudden the other ones had been up for almost, I think, 6 months or something like that. This first season, all of a sudden I got 2 copyright strikes within 4 hours. You know, I just deleted it. I was like, I don't want to deal with that because I got one more, and the channel had been gone. But anyway, the Thing remastered. I seen this, that they were remastering the thing. I've always liked this game. When I was how old was I? Cause when I graduated from high school, my first job, I worked at a video rental store, which is called Movie Gallery, down in Columbia, Mississippi. And there was this game was there, And I remember because they had the policy where you can rent games. You can rent games as long as you can rent anything, as long as you couldn't rent anything that was there for the first 2 weeks, and then after that you can rent everything for free, as if you worked there. And I kept renting this game, and never beat it. I rented the thing like 5-6 times. Never beat it for some reason. I don't know why I didn't beat it. But then I saw the remaster up, because I saw the remaster was up for sale on PlayStation Network. I put it in my I was on my phone when I saw it. I put it in my cart. I had a bunch of other stuff in my cart too. Well, like 5 other things in my cart at that time. Because I did start a gaming channel. So I ain't nothing on it yet, but I'm gonna put some stuff in soon. It's just the name of this channel, just with gaming next to it. But anyway, I had it in my cart on my phone in a PlayStation app. But I don't like purchasing stuff on that app because I had an issue before where I purchased stuff on the app and then I went on my PlayStation and they weren't showing up. Luckily, I think they started showing up like after a day. They started popping it because I was like, who would I have to get on? Because I've contacted PlayStation via Twitter before, and they're on their Twitter account, and they've actually helped me through something. So I was like, okay, well, I could go back there. By the time I wait, maybe it's like since it's coming from one thing to another, maybe it's like a delay. And they did come up. I made sure all of them came up. But I had them in my app, had them on the app, the PS app. I got on PlayStation to buy them. I thought they were all up except for this game. And I didn't think about it. I was, they just there. I didn't even think about the number. I just said, they're there, and I bought them, thinking I bought this game. And it was on sale for like half off, I think it was. And I was like, where is it? Then the next day, I was like, I was just trying to see where it is. I was like, where is it? And I didn't. It wasn't in my cart. It was in my cart on my phone, but it wasn't in the cart because it was still in my cart. I looked on my phone. It was still in the cart on my phone, but it wasn't in the cart on my PlayStation. So I'm like, I guess it didn't. That one didn't carry over or something. So I was like, and then by that time, the sale had went off because I think when I went up there, that was the last day for the sale. I didn't even know what was going on, but I was like, oh shit. So I said, well, I gotta wait till it go on sale again. Cause I do want to play this. Cause I've been saying they need to remaster this for a while. Cause I did enjoy the first one, but I thought it was funny when you got like here you give the person this weapon just so they could do a job and they take the weapon back because it's the only weapon you get, and then now I don't trust you anymore. Or they start freaking out. You see they get characters like Avatar they just doing this shit. Or they so scared they're just shaking and shit. But yeah, I'm gonna get this game though. But anyway, let me get into this. It's only 30 minutes. I don't know why I thought this was an hour. I think I was looking at something else. All right. I might have to move a table. I'm trying to. Here we go.
One body and what?
It's some kind of unidentified craft. It looks, well, like a UFO.
The camera zoom. Oh, Colonel just hung up.
Out of all the games to bring back for the modern audience, The Thing is an interesting choice. Because the movie is gorgeous, timeless, has amazing effects, and you can see its influences in tons of games.
Well, yeah. I was like, they should make another one of these games.
Title, which was the era of god-awful movie licensed games, with a few exceptions.
Is already that.
So, which one was The Thing? I guess that's always the question. I had played this game before, and I vaguely remembered it. Mainly that it had neat ideas, but was inconsistent and frustrating. So when Night Dive offered me a copy of the remaster, I grabbed the original, downloaded what fixes there were for it, and played it the whole way through. And the game was way more ambitious than I remembered, and also way worse.
Hey, it looks like your girl.
Worse than I remember.
But having played them back to back, I know just how much the remaster has improved things and what's still the same. So, no nostalgia goggles, I'll go through what's different and we'll take it from the beginning.
Larson! Larson!
Yeah, I remember this.
Now, I don't speak Norwegian, but that delivery always cracked me up.
Yeah, what?
Anyways, we're given a glimpse of the events that happened in the
wake
Norwegian
up.
camp. In the movie, the Outpost 31 team only investigated the aftermath,
Well,
which
you
is
saw
great
to read
because by
the
the end, you know
prequel
what happened.
started.
And on rewatch, you could pick up more details on how it went down. So for the game, it's a nice cold open to introduce players who don't know about the movie to the horrible gene chimera they'll be dealing with, and at the same time, it's a fun extra detail for fans.
I always liked this guy
because we don't need to know
fighting him
everything
for a
that happened
second.
in detail. Or if you were going to do that, don't fuck over the team making great effects for it.
Yeah, that was...
Jesus Christ. Then
was
comes your proper
stupid.
protagonist, Captain Blake. A Colonel Whitley has
To
sent him with
replace
special
that with
forces
CGI.
teams to find out what happened to the Norwegian and American bases. Even with bad weather visibility from a helicopter, it's clear they've been exploded apart. So Blake and his troops are dropped in to poke around the wreckage and look for clues. Unlike many survival horror games where it's you alone in the dark, The Thing is a squad-based third-person shooter, complete with managing their health and inventory, stopping them from panicking,
Yes.
and making sure they are still your squad, since there is a chance they got the old Blair fingering when you weren't paying attention.
I'm surprised they let
It turns
you...
out if you start growing extra
stick
arms,
them.
you don't have to wait for a DD-214. It's easy to see all kinds of potential in this, and ways it can all go wrong. And to Night Dive's credit, along with the original Computer Artworks team members they also had on board, this part of the game has more going for it and is way less broken than it used to be. Though I do want to start with the visuals as usual, especially since this game has undergone an overhaul there. Everything from lighting and shadows to reworking textures and adding specular maps
was
for some nice
doing
shaniness,
planks
not to mention all the
earlier,
UI
too,
and control
so-
adjustments, which just makes the game smoother to play. There are other new graphics options to tinker with, and some gameplay altering ones like glowing item pickups, which you can turn off if you don't want. The game looks sharper, runs smoother, and is missing some technical visual hiccups the original had. Though out of everything, I think the new specular maps and the new lighting are the big winners. All the variations of The Thing you fought had good detail for the time, but they did lack that wet, gross effect that's fully here now. There's plenty of times you get attacked by
that does
tiny
look
head
nicer.
crab beast things, and it was hard to tell what they were in a bad way, where here you can make out so much more detail. And sure, some are still an amalgamation of tongues and flesh, but now you can more easily make out the human heads running at you, along with all the other small thing types there are, along with brand new variations they've made for this remaster. The lighting improvements add a lot of spectacle to your muzzle flashes and flamethrower. They did cast light before, but the effect wasn't as dramatic. The light doesn't spread as far, and you don't have all the dynamic shadows reacting to it like you do now. A good amount of the game was, and still is, going through metal corridors, and this new detail does help to keep some areas less static. But some areas that had good atmosphere before are way elevated with this. It's not in every single scene looks more amazing now remaster. There are definitely areas where it can be hard to tell, but I get the sense it was from wanting to remain faithful to the art style, shortcomings and all, to not get a Halo CE situation. Like keeping the weird posters or the stretch textures for panels, those were all in the original, they're just more HD here. There's an interesting approach because when it comes to small throwaway assets like that for the old
it's a
game, they kept
remaster.
it how it was, but where they did make
Not a
those kinds of
remake.
changes was to align it more with the movie. Even the level design, especially early on, had some changes made to throw in some extra detail and little bits like that in there. They could have just been assets that were cut down for performance. It's a cool approach if that's what was happening, but there are two changes I find strange, and I have a theory for both of them. In the original's first few levels, the outside areas are gray, murky, and, well, dark. It's night near the South Pole, but in the remaster, it's a lot more blue. And this is with color grading off because, well, that makes it a lot more extreme. Could it be the old System Shock remake demo returning for revenge? It's not bad, and I might not have noticed it hadn't I just played the games back to back, but I was curious if there could be more to it other than the obvious
Interesting.
answer, which is it makes it look colder. Again, go back to the movie, and at night, the blue is everywhere. In the commentary, John Carpenter talks
that's
about how they
true.
used airport lights, both on camera and behind the camera, to light the exterior scenes. Some of the most famous lines in the movie have it creeping into the background. Even if it doesn't make sense for the lights you see to have it reaching that far, it's always there. So the original color here is more realistic, but the remaster's lighting looks more like The Thing. They didn't crank it to be as dramatic, but that is a subtle adjustment. The other is even tinier, but it is in your face most of the game. On Blake's backpack, he had a cool little Arctic Marine logo, which now just says US. For one, it's more historically accurate, but I think there's even more to it, and it goes back to a line in the game's intro.
Okay. We'll make a sweep and report back.
Roger. Meanwhile, I'll check up on Alpha Team.
The unseen squad is Alpha Team, but Blake is leading this one. It's gotta be Bravo Team, if you're going by the classic NATO phonetic alphabet. But if your background is in software, what comes after Alpha? Beta. Blake used to lead the Beta Team. It's such a small oversight that probably has a funny story about someone realizing this too late, so they both corrected that and made it more period accurate while they were at it. For me, this is part of the fun in really paying attention to what gets changed in a remaster. The smallest changes can have some reasoning behind them. Alright, enough comparing for now, let's talk about the game as is. All the environments are cold, dark, and utilitarian. In other words,
I mean, I know it's a tutorial
Antarctica.
to use a med kit.
Despite there being a cold meter, you don't spend that much time outdoors. Most of the game you're crawling through warehouses, hallways, laboratories, warehouses. Wait, that's not right. And hangars, the warehouse of airplanes. There are still unique and striking locations to find, and the remaster has helped even more there, but its nature means that a lot of locations can feel generic and repetitive, especially in the last third of the game, which does feel like a consequence of the location over anything else, but a lot of locations still feel gray and kind of barren, though there are a few other things causing it to feel that way. It's not like there are dull locations between great set pieces either, since even those are still pretty low. Most boss fights are in a small room or a small warehouse. There are some notable things you could recognize from the movie, down to really small details, but you leave the direct movie locations after about a half hour, so it's not carried by pointing at the screen for things you know, and games shouldn't rely on that anyways. The standout here is the thing itself.
Oh, move, you dumbass! Let's watch where you shooting. You dumbass walked in front of him. I mean, technically, you're already infected, right? There's that Resident Evil rules where, like, you're not actually infected unless you get infected during like the cutscene.
Oh, he's being cheeky. There are the swarms of tiny thing beasts, which, besides the spitting ones, feel the same to fight, but the bigger walker variants have so much more going on visually. They might morph an appendage when damaged or spawn out smaller creatures. The way they can be a living soup of multiple people or animals or maybe other alien life. Every
like
variation you see of them would fit right into the movie. And how unpredictably they can move and mutate also feels authentic when they're
like
not
it
running
waited
around like
as soon as that
chickens.
fire went,
and
I
that's
can't
not
run
completely
up
on
the
them
stairs.
because all the enemy AI can be like this. I do get the idea. Where both things and enemy humans are trying to survive, so they run away from a fight sometimes. The problem comes from just how fast you damage them to that threshold. But regardless, their meat puppet lasagna forms always looked authentic, and that's even better now. As for the sound, this is where things get rough. The voice acting is a blended range of hammy to alright. People like pointing out how Colonel Whitley is the smoking man from the X-Files. Probably because it's the one notable thing about this character.
Stand down, soldier. Good to see you, Doctor.
Well, yeah,
And
it's
Blake,
very
he's part of the
80s
pantheon of Xbox Action Man
or
characters.
90s as well.
What the hell?
Like
yeah,
80s, 90s
we're not
action
alone in
type
the universe
horror.
and all that crap. Check it out and move on. Let's skip the song and dance. Pierce is dead. I just want to get the hell out of here.
There are a few standout lines, but you kind of know what to expect. As for the music, it's authentic to the movie, tense, fitting.
Area looks secure.
Boom, boom. That heartbeat sound. Boom, boom.
And you get maybe 10-second stings of it until it fades off into silence. It's so sudden and awkward.
Yeah, that is weird.
What makes it worse is how empty the sound design can be without it.
Yeah,
And
they
I don't
probably
mean
just
empty like
kept it.
this.
I mean, when you
You
go
know, where there's
outside,
wind
they
or
could, I guess
tiny
they could
distant
have.
sounds. I mean where the only thing you hear is your footsteps, if you're lucky.
I think that's actually probably a good thing, like outside, to just hear your footsteps. For some reason, that makes it seem scary to me.
Okay, enough of that. Let me hear my item scrolling. And yes, the original game is like this too, but it was to the point where I thought something was bugged out. Like when a boss was revealed, it was dead silent. And watch how the camera whips around it. Like, that has to be an audio sting not playing right. I always assumed the game was bugged to shit and a bunch of audio wasn't playing for whatever reason, but now in the remaster, the truth is revealed. Okay, he may have exploded through the boxes, but there was a little music sting. Or at least there is now because the room is still silent. Like, the fact the audio doesn't seem to have gone through much of an overhaul is crazy to me. Ennio Morricone's soundtrack for the movie is just iconic. I hate to say it, but even Among Us is outdoing the official game here. And sure, something probably happened to stop the original game from getting the proper soundtrack, or really, any soundtrack, but if the remastered team wanted to keep the game like this, so many areas needed an audio pass. It's not tense atmosphere quiet, it's empty and undercooked quiet.
Yeah, that was like outside, I could most understand it, but when you're inside, you need to have some type of music. And then have it speed, wrap up when you're fighting a boss or something, or enemies.
It either needed more layers of effects or, look, let me throw in the music from earlier. The lack of ambient audio was a huge pit in the game and it barely seems to have been touched here.
This place.
For all that the improved lighting and textures did for the game, I was hoping sound would see similar improvements, even though all the combat sound effects and the monsters are all fine. The game didn't have bad sound effects, it just didn't have enough of them. I don't know, maybe they also fell into the Hateful Eight. Actually, the one full song the original had was in the credits. Yeah, that didn't make it back for this one.
Yeah, it's like this some early 2000s.
This is more fitting, but man, I like that other song more. It's like I can feel the AMV trying to escape from it.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, no, you're not fucking coming with me. No. Of course, besides the visuals, the focus was on tweaking the gameplay. It's in a funny spot because the original game sold over 1 million copies and reviewed fairly well, but it's largely considered a cult game with a small following. There's a good reason for that. I've always thought it was underrated or maybe underappreciated for what it tried to do for the genre. After all, it's basically the only game like this. But really think about that. It sold well, reviewed well, it's the only game like it. Games rip off innovations from each other constantly, it's what keeps things moving forward. The Deception formula really took off in multiplayer, but in single player, it wasn't touched even before those went off. But the squad control and trust mechanics are just one part of the game. The issue is, if the Riddick games, or the new line Lord of the Rings games just had a new skin over them, they wouldn't be nearly as popular, but they'd still be fun and satisfying to play. Their core gameplay is strong enough. If this was called Alien Outpost 31 and had no IP attachment, I don't think it would have been received nearly as favorably. Like, the movie was famously panned before the Perception turnaround. The game did have
true,
cool
which I did not
concepts,
know, like,
but I think it was also given a fuck ton of leeway. If anything, it wasn't even the developer's true vision for the game, which was held back by technology, design, and other constraints.
It was a cult classic.
But let's break things down to an action games-based level, shooting the bad man. The original game had auto-aim, and in fact, that was the difficulty system. The easier you set it, the wider your firing cone. Enemies would run up, you'd auto-aim and gun them down, so you were free to maneuver without having to aim. There was a first-person aim toggle if you really wanted to be precise, but you couldn't move during that. Unless you turned on free aiming, which does look jittery when you move, but the game will control more like you'd expect it to. Here are the issues that come with that. Sometimes enemies will spray out blood, as most things do when you put rounds into them, but larger versions of the thing are a problem because you have to burn them when their health is low enough. If you set them on fire too early, it might not kill them, so you have to wait for the threshold. That threshold is when your reticle turns red in auto-aim mode. You could aim more freely, but were basically flying blind. Compared to basically knowing when your monster was preheated, you had to guess. And this was a cost of supplies and ammo that could be very tense in the right situations. This was also one of those games where if you reloaded, you lost the entire whole magazine. So trusting a new squad mate with lots of ammo was risky, since they wouldn't always drop it. There were some magical moments where I was low on health and ammo playing cat and mouse with the monster. Not knowing how close to death it was, but knowing how much I was, did feel tense. But the reality is, if you try to play the entire game that way, you will start going bald. Because lack of feedback sucks if you're shooting at a boss and wondering if it's actually doing anything. Or how about shooting at a gun turret where you watch the bullets phase through it like you're not doing any damage. That reticle color was often the only way to tell you were doing anything. But beyond being stiff in both modes, the actual shooting just felt bad. Aiming too far down in free aim or first person mode, you could easily kill yourself with your own fire, even if it looks like you're aiming level or in front of you. Weapons like the shotgun could frequently not fire because you're supposed to hold the attack button down. If you tried to click or hit a button to shoot every time, sometimes it wouldn't happen. But between all that, the checkpoints could be incredibly far from each other. You can be stuck between corpses, endlessly spawning enemies, even if you set them on fire. It has that kind of pacing where it feels like they're trying to stop rentals at the video store. Having a load button on death is part of the widescreen fan patch. Otherwise, you had to go back to the main menu to load a save. Then there were the other bugs and jank, like a boss being able to hit you in a cutscene or geometry you would get stuck on. And this is all before touching the squad system. Again, there's probably a reason this game sold so well, but is viewed as being a strange outsider cult game. It's kind of a nightmare to play through, but you can clearly see where things can be polished up. So let's start with those basics before getting into the squad system. For starters, the game just controls better. It uses a combination of the old free aim system for looking around, combined with the auto-targeting for enemies getting close. It's a combat system I haven't felt since... oh god, well, it's a lot better here. Because of this new system, you really have to try to hurt yourself with the flamethrower, compared to aiming fairly level and somehow still damaging yourself. Weapons like the shotgun now fire as quickly as you shoot, which is still kind of jank but in a much better direction. You no longer keep hammering the button with nothing happening in a critical time. The magazine system has been completely abandoned, so you can reload whenever you want now. The maps also have way more health and ammo pickups than they used to the point where ammo was rarely an issue for me, even while I was still passing out ammo like candy. And that does include squad discipline. There's no guesswork at all now when deciding when to use the flamethrower. The icon doesn't just turn red, a flame icon will pop up when it's time to cook. And there's now a dedicated key to switching to your flamethrower, and a quick heal key. And areas that once spawned enemies forever no longer do so. There's auto-saves on top of the save stations. So what was known in scholarly circles as the Thing's stupid staircase is not too bad now. Visible feedback on enemies can still be bad, but it doesn't matter nearly as much, and bosses always have a visible health bar. Your squad's aim can be absurdly good now, and if they have the ammo, they'll clean up an area nicely. And going through the game, I realized I was barely taking damage. Areas that I had really had to power through before, I was just breezing by. Looking through the options, you can't go back to the no auto-targeting system at all. What you can do is limit your auto-aim range, and there is a new difficulty system, but it seems to increase damage to you and not much else. Even with those settings cranked, I was still flying through this game. And I know there are arguments that stiff controls make better horror games and stuff like that, but stiff controls were just one thing that made this game hard. I'd still die every once in a blue moon. But it feels like they sanded down every part that made the game hard individually. Like, you don't have to deal with magazines, and there's more health and ammo around, and the enemies hurt less, and the checkpoints are a lot less horrible, all umbrellaed under better aiming controls with quick swap keys. And again, I think the balance of difficult elements in the original was horrible, but these changes came across like they were all decided beforehand rather than, say, the new control scheme going in, and then iterating on those systems, seeing how it played then. And no, I'm not saying the original is the better game here. There are other improvements I haven't gone through yet, but it would be nice if there was a harder difficulty that maybe reduced supplies and brought back magazines. I don't know, just something to make the difficulty less of a 180 change. But let's move on to the big selling point, the squad system, and rooting out the imposters. The game has some Half-Life influence, but more directly, opposing force. Since you played in the military this time, you would sometimes get squad mates. You had your standard Crayola connoisseurs, but also engineers for cutting open doors, and medics to heal you and the rest of the team. They were only around for small portions of the game, but more developed than Half-Life proper. The Thing also has standard soldiers, engineers, and medics, but they're around a lot more frequently, and you often find new ones to recruit. But to make them more human, they're ruled by trust and fear. If your guys find something unsettling, you'll know about it because they start puking all over themselves. This is going to be happening a lot, sometimes mid-sentence, sometimes in the middle of a firefight. It's a lot. Roman bachelor parties didn't have this much vomit. And they do have a few other ways of letting you know they're freaked out, and if their fear level gets too high, they'll go into a full-blown panic. They'll have breakdowns refusing to move, run away, fire their weapons off wildly, so you want to try and mitigate it before it hits this point. This is mainly done by giving them more ammo, gunning down aliens, but also keeping them away from areas that are too scary, because even on the lower end, fear will still affect their accuracy. The reality is, with how small these areas can be, that's inevitable. But it's kind of comedy gold too, since sometimes they'll go, "Oh my god," then walk a few steps and go, "That's good."
Oh man, we're gonna die here! Wow! What flavor of shit is that?
Damn, good shot.
Yeah.
But sometimes, whether your fault or not, they're gonna hit that breaking point.
Oh. What the
If that
fuck?
happens, give them a shot of pure adrenaline.
He just stabbed him.
Yeah, nice and calm now. It's a solid idea, but the reality is, it's just kind of silly to watch. But it adds so
Yeah,
much character
calms
and
you down.
entertainment value. An area that you're not really paying attention to might suddenly scare the hell out of one of your squad mates. Because as a player, you might be getting numb to all the blood and gore, but they do help ground you there. You get how it should work, and it does seem like a great idea, just one ahead of its time. You would need more control of your squad, better mitigation methods, and more intricate levels to really make it shine. Even in this state, I still think it's a good addition, but it's the trust system that was the most ambitious, and was the most broken. For starters, the thing is now operating more like a zombie virus. Like, you can convert into one.
I'm not going anywhere. It's over.
What?
It got me. I can feel it.
And it can now copy your clothing. Huh. Your squad could be an
I
alien,
mean, they
but they
did that
also
in the
think you could
movies,
be an
too.
alien. And since now it spreads like rabies, if someone is hit in combat, they can now be the enemy. Oh god. The issue
Because
is you've got to
clearly
keep
in the
them around.
movie, it would rip through
Engineers are the
people's
only class
clothing.
that can open certain doors that you
But
need
they
to
still
progress.
had
If they die in
clothes
certain
on
fights or
that
lose
they
the
had on
infection dice
before.
roll, that can be a game over. Keeping medics alive isn't as critical, but in the old resource-starved version, they were certainly a lot more helpful. Soldiers are okay, but everyone shoots accurately now, and even in the original, they weren't that beneficial. Another gun is another gun. However, they won't follow you or your orders if they don't trust you. Similar to Fear, you need to give them weapons and ammo, and they need to see you kill aliens. Because if you're not fighting alongside them, that does seem pretty suspicious. To fix that, you can use a
makes
rare
sense.
blood testing kit on yourself. And Jesus Christ, get some apple juice or something. Same goes for your team. If you think they're full of shit and maybe huskies, you can pull out a 2-liter Fanta of blood.
All right, let's do this.
You wouldn't betray me, Mr. Carpenter.
He looks
Yeah,
like
that's right,
he's
you're
sick.
a gamer. In the original game, this had a major problem. There were some boss fights and locations where the squad AI wasn't quite good enough to participate. So every so often, a man would just explode into being the thing. And it could happen despite your best defense efforts.
All right, let's do this.
Yeah, that's my Collins. No known allergies. Come, my narcoleptic.
It's like sometimes I'm
otherwise healthy
confused
friend.
about is he talking about the new game, the old game? I just look at the backpack.
Oh god damn it! You just
He's
got your
old.
shot.
You talking? This is the old game.
He could have been naturally infected before that point, but when he gets there, he's turning. But these special triggers always happened in the same spot, so once you knew them, you took care of them early. But now with the remaster, you can see something crazier than the man river dancing. Collins can now walk all the way down this hallway and help with the boss fight. All the scripted infections are gone, which is a huge improvement. We can win as a team now. What? No! Collins, how did... Oh, damn it. Yeah, there are still areas where they can't follow you for whatever reason, but there's no more testing and then getting the thing 3 seconds later. In fact, while the squad screen only has 4 slots, it's all based on proximity, so I had 5, 6, 7 units in a squad at once. And with more people, I saw things that I had no idea could happen in the trust system, like an engineer I found who really did not like the looks of me.
Whoa, he push.
That is such a cool feature. What it doesn't fix is that blood testing is still mainly a waste of time. Squad members are still helpful until they turn into a monster, and so testing a monster just reveals them in that moment. They can't pickpocket items off of you or blow you away with a gun if they're still disguised. It's possible they could add that in, but the reality is most people would probably think some kind of bug was happening if their squad mate suddenly shoots them in the face. And with the infection-prone combat there is, that can mean a lot of friendly fire happening. A blood test is still best used to make people trust you and not much else. That and the trust system itself still has some holes in it, like friendly fire can happen. Oh shit, that was gnarly. I mean more executing your men one by one with no testing. It still seems to be
head
tracked
explode
individually,
like
so if you
watermelons.
shoot someone in the leg,
God
then yeah, they'll trust you less. But they won't bat an eye at 40k style cowardice corrections. But hey, your guys no longer turn to a monster for no reason. We made it, men.
Oh, he's shooting everybody. I guess I'm good. You wouldn't shoot
Okay.
me, would you?
All the squad stuff works better than it used to. Works better than opposing force. So for an improved, albeit easier game, it can be fun and interesting, but there's still some baggage. The act of running around shooting thing beasts with your squad feels more smooth and responsive than ever. And while limited, there are some sections that really take advantage of you being clever with your squad. Like one where you wake up in a lab with no weaponry, patrolling monsters, and just a few cameras. You have to carefully time crossing the hallway, find someone with a weapon and make them trust you, and then build your group and equipment back up, relying on them to protect you. From there, scope out certain doors using a camera, send a squad member ahead, and then cover them with a remote turret. It's the kind of thing I wish the game had more of, especially now that it's more functional. But it's mostly murder hoboing, and the last third of the game is murder hoboing soldiers. There are still some creatures around, but what made the game unique starts falling off more and more. Also, compared to creatures, it's a lot harder to buy soldiers running around aimlessly. Before, you could probably tell the enemy AI was iffy, but at this point, you know it for sure. Plus, there were a few times where my own squad bugged out and stopped following me, and I had not seen that happen in the old version. There are some new bugs this time around, though thankfully I didn't run into too many. Speaking of those, the boss fights have had shockingly little
I'm
changes
sure
to
they'll
them.
put out
When you
a
were supposed to
patch.
dodge and circle strafe, but if you got close to it, it can never hit you. It has the exact same problem here. Or that awful little ledge in this fight. And I don't think they kept these to be authentic either, because they did remix some later objectives like the C4 hangars, which seemed like a weird change to me compared to something obviously awful like the staircase. It's a very uneven game at its core, but only a 4 to 7 hour one, so it doesn't drag out horribly. There are still solid improvements that could be made, but they're not going to change what the game is. An okay 2002 third-person action shooter, with some cool and ambitious ideas that are executed better here, but too much convenience has sacrificed some needed friction which could be put back in. Maybe in some kind of new mode called Chess Wizard or something. As for the story, there's some clear patterning off of Aliens, which isn't a bad idea if you're going for a sci-fi horror sequel. If this game was called The Things, that'd be appropriate. The military ultimate badasses come in and get more than they bargained for. There's a company up to some mischief. The main problem is, Aliens built on the fear of Alien. The alien could be anywhere, and now there's an entire hive of them. It was already established how awful one was, and now the chances are higher that it could be around any corner. Sure, because it was an action movie, a lot would be shot in the face, but they still threatened or would pick off characters you were invested in. The threat of the thing is that it can be anyone. But you don't have a strong cast of characters
You
to
just let
begin
him put
here.
the
You have
guns
endless
in.
red shirts for the meat grinder. And Blake himself is like a living men's deodorant commercial.
Who's the cargo for?
I don't know, but it sure ain't the Red Cross.
A Thing game where you were in small locations with characters you were invested in could really work. The ones here are interchangeable on your quest to smite more
Yo,
head
it's, like I
crabs.
said, they gotta
Even
be
from a
here to
world
be
building
like
angle,
a
a lot is still unclear.
cool
It seems to take
80s
place right
action
after
guy.
the movie, so there was always a hidden corporate military base down here studying the aliens. They're experimenting with it to do something, but it's all kept vague. You do find the fates of some movie characters, especially if you explore around, but I don't find the story interesting enough, good or bad, to really dig into. The one exception is a single line written by the
Good or
Thing.
bad, just
In
not interesting.
context, this would taunt Blake as he dies. The creature is always a survivor, but taunting goes a bit beyond that and is a little more human. Was it always like that, or has it spread to enough people that it's starting to get our tendencies for some reason? It wanted to spread and survive, but you didn't get much motivation beyond that. Actually, it's not clear if it did want to spread, it might have just wanted to escape. The whole movie is about guessing everyone's motivations, so I found this tiny bit of malice interesting. Other than that, I got nothing. Remember, no Norwegian. It is fascinating this game was chosen to be brought back. I do think it's more prime for remake over remaster territory, but it could generate interest in making other games in the IP
I was
or
kinda
bringing
thinking
back
it
games
too,
like
yeah.
this. I'll have the GOG link pinned in the comments, but the $30 asking price is too high. At least if you're buying the game purely for the game. I think even $20 would still be a maybe. But if you have the income and want to support Night Dive, then go for it. Because I would much rather interesting games like this get brought back with touch-ups, compared to games that are still perfectly fine to play that don't need this kind of treatment. Projects like this and Killing Time are weird choices, and I'm glad to see them back with so many improvements. Hopefully this one will get some more post-launch support. And I've still got a lot of catching up to do with my regular schedule. This was a nice and sometimes awful break from that, but I'll see you next time.
Cheating bitch. Oh, I didn't even, I didn't even see that.
How do I discover the bizarre adventure games I've played? I still get viewer recommendations, but the easiest way is dig through Steam or dig through archive websites and find games that there's basically no information on. It means you will trawl through a lot of uninteresting nothing. Can I talk more about my role?
I guess I'll do it. I forgot he talks.
Where's the
in this
Oni
thing.
video? The worst is I've had the entire game recorded for a year or two now. I ended up missing Bungie Day this year, and it doesn't quite connect with
You
the
sound
others like
like
the
me.
other Bungie titles do. It has interesting stuff to talk about, but other things
So he
came
actually
first.
does put out
Abe Lincoln
content.
Vampire Hunter, or Van Helsing 2004, easy Van Helsing. Can I talk more about my role
Yeah.
at Hooded Horse? I wouldn't be
And I
able to
like
explain it
Abraham
well in this
Vampire
brief
Hunter.
time. The short version is I'm on the leadership team, I talk to internal devs about their projects, and I do scouting work for new games, and there is some cool stuff in the pipeline. That's the short version, since in this industry, you do wear a lot of hats sometimes. How do I discover the bizarre adventure games I've played? I still get viewer recommendations, but the easiest way is dig through Steam or dig through archive websites and find games that there's basically no information on. It means you will trawl through a lot of uninteresting nothing, but eventually, you'll find something weird in there. Like I said in the Cabela's video, more is coming, Halloween just can't contain it.
I'm locked, loaded,
Loaded
and ready to make shit dead.
Who talks like that?
I remember that. Oh, I remember my dad. I was playing that. He said, he said that while I was playing. And they was like, the hell are you playing? He's like, the hell are you playing? I do remember because I got this. I rented this game, and I had it when Hurricane Katrina happened. That's what and I still had it, if I remember correctly. I think I had like 2 or 3 games, and we thought, oh, the hurricane's not gonna be that bad, and ended up being, horrible, if you all know. And I couldn't return it because everything was closed. We were out power. We were without power for it's like 3 weeks, because I lived in town, so we got power pretty much. We were like one of the first ones to get power because we were like right next to City Hall, right next to the police station. Where I lived in my apartment complex, so we got power when they got power. But people who like lived on the outskirts of town, like further out, I think some of them didn't have power for like a few months afterwards. And that was rough. That was a rough time. But yeah, just another one he mentioned when people talk about video games being better when they have like rigid movement, or like tank controls, or kind of like dynamic camera angles. They have fixed cameras, like Resident Evil old games, like the original Resident Evil 2, 3, the first one, or like those games, stuff like that. I don't think that makes the game scary. Like, I've seen people say that the original RE2 is scarier than the remake. Now, I've only played the demo for the remake. I bought the remake like a while ago. I still haven't played it, but I played the demo, so I technically played the game. And I played the original when I was a kid. I didn't find the original scary. Like people like, it was so much scary. It's like, you had Mr. X going around. You had jump scares, like he could bust through a wall or something like that. Now, of course, when you played the game again, it was it wasn't like, oh, excuse me, it wasn't like randomized. He still came when he still came. He still bust through the walls in the moments when he was supposed to. This liquor still showed up when they were supposed to. So it wasn't like scarier to me. Now, like I said, I only played the demo of the remake, but I do know when people talked about like Mr. X, and that was scary at first, but then it became annoying because you're trying to do stuff and he could just randomly show up, at any moment. You like, oh, now I gotta stop doing this puzzle and leave out of the room. Or wait for him to come in and circle around him and run back out and try to lead him away and stuff like that. You just like so I get, you kind of want, some people just kind of want the narrated sequences where this person's coming, when they're gonna show up, just like in RE3 remake where Nemesis just kind of does the same thing. He just kind of just follows you, or there's moments when he would just show up. Where there's like narrative purpose for him to show up, but then he'll chase you for a certain length, and then you'll get to a certain area that he won't. So it wasn't quite, I guess, as bad as the second one with Mr. X. But at the same time, I don't think that is scarier. It's like when I see people say, well, limiting the mobility of the character makes it scary because you can't just run. You know, I don't know if, I mean, because you could still be scary. You could still have a scary game. And I feel like that's just like an excuse to be like, oh, you made it harder for the person to move. So that's what makes it scary, because I can't move like a real person. You know, I can't sprint. It's like RE6. Like RE6, I ain't gonna lie, I liked RE6. Did it have its problems? Absolutely. One thing, it was too long. I will admit that the Chris and Pierce, or was it Piers? They campaign was too actiony. I get what this story was. They had Leon and Helena was kind of like supposed to be the scary aspect, or the scary campaign. You could tell they spent way more time on Leon's campaign than anybody else. But Chris and Pierce, the Piers, you said Pierce, Piers. Their campaign was too actiony, and even Sherry and Jake, their campaign was very actiony, and which I guess makes sense because I mean, when you first see Jake, like he like beating people's asses hand to hand, and like he threw like a guy and like kicked his leg up and stopped to hold up against the wall. I was like, get the fuck out of here. It's he's Albert Wesker's son, so I guess he has what they call superior genes. And then I was like, when did he have this kid? Like, did he have him before he was infected? Or, you know, I know he didn't have him when he was infected, because I was like, he's 20 years old. So he must have had him before. He's 20 and 6. And I don't know how old Chris was in the original RE. I think in RE6, because they tell you their ages. I think Chris is 52. Oh, not 52. Not 52. Not 42. Is it 42? Because I think Leon is 38. Which I always thought was funny, because they have I forget, I think it was the developer or director or whoever said like Ada needs to stay hot. So even though Ada is older than Leon, she looks like she's in her 20s. and Leon clearly looks older. And I think Helena wasn't she like her late 20s, like 28? I mean, she's supposed to be like a new agent, or not brand new, but you know, like she's I guess you say less experienced than Leon, but not like a rookie. And I forget how old Pierce. I know Jake was 20, which I'm like, why is he so experienced? I guess it's like his whole life has been just in a war zone after war zone, so has all this combat experience, even though he's like, I think he's young. He definitely younger than Sherry. I think Sherry is like her mid-20s or something, and then I know she had the Wolverine healing factor, which makes sense because she did get infected, and I think they came out. I don't know if it was in the original or it was retcon that they may have done something to her parents to keep her like safe, or maybe they just experiments. Oh well, if we inject her with this thing, she gets like a healing factor or something, which I guess she did, because Albert Wesker had a healing factor. Like, he got stabbed through the stomach by a tyrant, all like completely. He should have really probably been severed in half, but then he came back. He just healed. So then he injected himself with a bunch of other viruses that gave him enhanced strength. He could dodge bullets and shit. So, but yeah, just that whole. I just feel like that's a cop out. 'Cause like in 6, I like that you could sprint, you could dive, roll around the ground like fucking Riggs from Lethal Weapon and shoot. I like that stuff because I'm like, it seemed like the proper transition the way these characters were going. I mean, if you played the original RE4, Leon was literally like an 80s, 90s action hero. Like they made that, like he was very, like, I won't say pro-America and that, but just the banter between him and Salazar, like it was very action movie, like one-liners and stuff like that, and then that's when they introduced him kicking, being able to kick people, and then he had like a grappling hook. I mean, Ada had a grappling hook all the time, but he had that grappling hook in there that he had what was up? No. The flip it through the lasers thing, which I'm like, because I remember when I played, I was like, what is happening? Because I was like, okay, is this supposed to be like the movies? Because I remember the movie, I remember seeing the trailer for that first movie. I was like, what the hell? When she ran on the wall and kicked that dog in the trailer, I was like, this is bullshit. And back then, I was kind of more like one of these guys, like, if it's not exactly like the game, if you're doing a movie adaptation of a game, and it's not the exact same thing, then it's shit. And so I watched it, and I was like, oh, I thought it was fine. I mean, yeah, it's not Resident Evil, but I thought it was fine. I mean, it had elements of Resident Evil, but I was like, hey, it's an adaptation. It doesn't have to be the exact same thing. I can go back and play the game if I want to. I don't need this to be shot for shot, the exact same as that, Because what would be the point of that if I could just play the game? I mean, I guess people who are not interested in playing the game can watch it. But for me, who's played the games, what would I care? That you had Alice, who is not in any of the games. Yeah, I don't think they had anybody in those games, or at least in the first movie, that was in any of the games. I don't even know. Well, I know in the second one they had Jill, where she was in the same outfit that she was in 3. I guess they like, we ain't doing that stupid outfit from the first one with the shoulder pads. Like those outfits, I was like, okay, this is clearly like you didn't want to cover up her boobs, but you feel like we got to put some on her because she can't just have a shirt and everybody else has like some type of tactical vest. So you just put shoulder pads like on her shoulder. It's like, just give her a tactical vest like everybody else. It's like, and then you had, what was that? The medic. What was her name? She always like an anime character. She had big, huge eyes. What was her name? I can't remember. But she was a medic. I don't think she even had. Did she have a gun? I know she was in RE0. But I don't even see, did she even have a gun before that? But she was like 18 or something. Oh, she's like a medical prodigy or some junk, and she had like I guess supposed to be like a bulletproof vest, but like one of them small ones. Something you see cops wear. And so you can still see that she's supposed to have breasts. Like it's like we need to make sure that you see that this is supposed to be a woman. It's like the only way we know is a woman, and you can see that she has breasts. Like everybody else has like a tactical vest on, except these two. Like at least I keep wanting to say Cher, that's not her name. At least Other girl like has like a small bulletproof vest. Like, you could just put that on shield, like a small bullet. I was like, when I first saw those shoulder pads when I was a kid play that, I was like, that looks weird. That don't even make sense. It's like you just want to do something different and didn't really know what to do. But now it's iconic. I'm like, just because something's old don't mean it's iconic. Like they were like the RE3 outfit. Like, that's iconic. I'm like, she just wearing like a skirt, and I know I remember in the original game they made a trying to explain why she's dressed like this. There's it's a particularly hot summer in like Raccoon City. I was like, get the fuck out of here. I was like, so you could just put her. I mean, it's fine that you had her in there. You don't even think you need to explain why. But, and then they changed her look in the remake. And people talking about that as woke or some shit because she got on pants. And I was like, oh my God. Like, he's woke. She has on pants, is woke. Oh, anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed my reaction. If you did, make sure to hit that thumbs up button down below. Make sure to subscribe. And if you hit that bell, if you want me notified and upload new videos, comment down below. Share this video. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.